How's it going, everybody? CJ here, back with another video. We're doing another deck tech request today. This deck tech request is from Tristan Husey. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the last name right. It's probably wrong, but worth a shot. Tristan said to make a bug deck, and not black, blue, green, but an insect tribal deck. This was before Modern Horizons 2 spoilers came out, and I was on the fence of doing it then because I knew that there were some insect-related stuff coming in Modern Horizons 2 based on like leaks and spoilers and stuff. So I waited it out, and we ended up building Grist for this deck. But before we hop into this deck tech, we have the giveaway going on. If you want to join the giveaway, it's linked in the bio or the description of this video, so check that out. You can win this playmat, and you can also win these signed singles. So check all that out. Also in the description of this video, we have my compiled link, which includes, if you want to support the channel, the Patreon, the TCG Player affiliate link, and my trade binder. Through my trade binder, you can request cards from me for me to either trade with you or to buy from me straight up. And I will be competitively priced. So check that out. And also, we got the Twitch, Twitter, and the TikTok down in the description, and the Discord if you want to chat with us. So check all that out, and we're going to hop into this. So for this deck tech, we are doing Grist Insect Tribal. This was a pretty cool, pretty easy to build deck. I'm going to go through it in the categories of creatures. I'm just going to go through it like creatures. After the creatures, I'll do the artifacts, or planeswalkers, artifacts, enchantments, instants, sorceries, and then lands. So that's the order of this. This deck is going to be pretty interesting. It's got a very heavy creature count. We're at 36 creatures, so that way Grist's ultimate can have a big effect. Tons and tons of insects, so that way you can mill a lot of creatures into your graveyard, and some ways to capitalize on that. So it is an insect tribal deck, but there's a lot of just powerful synergies with insects thanks to Grist. So we're just going to start off with the insects. First insect, I'm just going to go through them pretty quickly. We got insect creatures, I should say. Caustic Caterpillar, good removal there. Mortician Beetle, you're going to be sacrificing a lot of things, so you can get pretty big. It's a decent one-drop. Skittering Heartstopper, another decent one-drop because it's got optional Death Touch, which is nice. Xantid Swarm, interesting card there. This could be useful. Broodhatch Nantuko, this card could end up creating a ton of tokens. It seems pretty good in the deck. There's Dross Hopper, which is an insect that's also a sacrifice outlet, which seems pretty decent. We got Caustic Wasps. So whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you get to blow up an artifact they control. Seems pretty decent. Devouring Swarm, another sacrifice outlet on an insect. Seems very powerful in the deck. You got Scoot Swarm. I mean, this is going to make a ton of tokens. Nantuko Vigilante, which seems pretty good. It can be a reclamation stage, kind of, but it's also an insect, which is nice. We got Ant Queen, which can pump out a lot of insects. Graveshell Scarab, which is interesting. It can sacrifice itself so you can draw a card, and also has Dredge, so you can bring it back and mill yourself more. So this is a card that you can kind of cycle in and out of the graveyard a pretty good amount. Mazarick, Crawl Death Priest. This card seems fantastic in the deck because of all the sacrificing that's going to be happening, so it's going to put counters everywhere. You've got Swarm of Bloodflies, which seems pretty good. You've got Phyrexian Swarm Lord, which could end up jaking out an Infect win. Nice little alternate win con there. Hornet Queen enters the battlefield with a bunch of tokens. And you got Moldgraph Monstrosity. When it dies, you get 2 things back from your graveyard. It's a pretty big insect. It's a good card. And Living Hive. It's got Trample, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens onto the battlefield. So it's got like insect link, kind of like Squirrel Link with the Earl of Squirrel. It's an interesting card. It's good in the deck. And then for non-insect creatures, just cards that will synergize well in the deck, because of the fact that you want to have a high creature count in this deck, a lot of the ramp is from creatures. So you got Elves of Deep Shadow, Llanowar Elves, you've got Farhaven Elf, Spring Bloom Druid, Ramanop Excavator kind of, because of the fact that you're going to be, it's not really ramp, but you're going to be milling a lot of lands, and so it's a good way to just get those lands back into play. Wood Elves, another good ramp card. Pitiless Plunderer, seems fantastic for ramping in this deck because of all the sacrifice triggers. And yeah, next up is just other good creatures in the deck. You have Aristocrat stuff with like Blood Artist. You got Fiend Artisan, which is a sacrifice outlet that can tutor stuff into play. Zulaport Cutthroat seems fantastic. Eternal Witness just to get stuff back. You've got Smothering Abomination, which seems pretty good. Good way to draw cards. And Azoni, Thousand Eyed, the sacrifice outlet that will also just create a bunch of tokens. So, Yawgmoth, Thran Physician, another good sacrifice outlet that can draw you cards. And if you have a bunch of counters, it'll proliferate everything. And just other cards we got in this deck. Hermit Druid, really easy way to mill your deck. If you want to just have an easy win con, you can just do all like non-basic lands in your deck, have Grist in play and ready to ultimate, activate Hermit Druid, mill your entire library, kill everybody with Grist. That seems pretty good. You have Blex Vexing Pest to give all your insects +1/+1. I think I said Eternal Witness already, but good card. Craterhoof Behemoth is a good win con on the deck. And that's what I've got for creatures in this deck. Very high creature count. Seems pretty good. I've only got one Planeswalker in this deck, and that's just... There are other ones that seem very good for the deck, but this seems like the best one for the deck, and there's just so many slots. There's only so many slots I can use. So, I gotta go heavier on the creature. So, unfortunately, only one Planeswalker made the cut, and that's Liliana Dreadhorde General, because she'll draw you a bunch of cards. She's got a sacrifice outlet on her. She's good. Very, very good. Next up is artifacts. We've got 3 artifacts that you basically just sacrifice with, including Skull Clamp, draw you a bunch of cards. Altar Dementia can help mill you, seems good. And Phyrexian Altar to make some mana. You've also got Soul Ring, of course. Mesmeric Orb, which seems pretty great in this deck, just to mill a lot of things quickly. And Scroll Rack, so you can put insects from your hand directly on the top of your library. That seems nice. And then enchantments. There's a few good enchantments. 2 of them work really well with the sacrifice theme, being Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos, so that way your opponent sacrifice things as well. You've got Animate Dead, so you can reanimate one of your milled big creatures. Phyrexian Reclamation, so you can bring stuff from your graveyard to your hand. And Crawling Sensation, I don't remember what this does, so I have to take a look at this. Being if you upkeep, you put top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, so it mills you. And whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from play, you get to create a 1/1 insect. So that seems perfect for this deck. Easy include. And now we're on to the instants. We got Assassin's Stroke. Oh, one other enchantment is Parallel Lives. That seems really good. And I tried to find a spot. Actually, no, I got a spot for it. Also, Doubling Season seems fantastic in this deck. It's fantastic in this deck. Those are the last of the enchantments. And now, for instance, we got Assassin's Trophy. Great removal there. You've got Plume the Forbidden. Good card draw outlet, sack outlet. You're going to be able to do a lot with this card. This card seems sweet in the deck. You've got Beast Within. Just the best removal in green, pretty much. You've got cards like Bone Harvest and Foot Bottom Feast and Grave Purge. All of those seem fantastic. Put any number of creature cards from your graveyard, or any number of creature cards from your graveyard on the top of your library, and then you draw a card. So you mill a lot of cards. You throw a ton of insects on top of your library. You uptick Grist. He mills all of them back into your graveyard, and you get 1,000,000 counters and 1,000,000 insects. Fantastic. Also, that you can do that in a sorcery is Forever Young. So you can use Forever Young for the same thing. Life from the Loam seems good because it's got Dredge. It's a way to get lands back out of your graveyard. Decent card. A couple ramp cards in the sorceries being Nature's Lore, Rampant Growth, and 3 Visits. They're just very good ramp cards. You're going to want to be ramping mostly on turn 2 because turn 3 is Grist. Regrowth seems fantastic in the deck because you're milling yourself. Victimize is a very good reanimation spell that you can use. Like, you just sacrifice an insect token and get 2 big insects out of your graveyard. Seems good. Life and Death is a very, very cool card. You can make all your lands into 1/1s, or you can reanimate something. That seems good. That seems like it's going to be a good card for this deck. Culling Ritual. You can create a ton of mana with this card by blowing up all your tokens and blowing up all your opponent's small things, and it could be a really interesting play. Like, it can create so much mana that you can just do anything you want with. And the last sorcery is Dread Return. Another good reanimation outlet, and you can cast this with Flashback by sacrificing some insect tokens. Seems great. And now we're on to the lands. I'm only going to talk about the non-basic lands, and I'm actually only going to talk about the utility lands. If you want to see the color fixing lands, then you just have to check out the deck list, which is linked down below. So, for utility lands, we got Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. Turn everything into a forest. You don't have to worry about green mana this way. It just seems like a great card. Similarly, you can run Urborg. That seems great in this deck. And if you're running Urborg, you might as well run Cabal Coffers as well, because extra mana there. Swarmyard makes it so you can regenerate insects. So any big insect that you want to keep around, you can regenerate it with Swarmyard. Seems great. We've got Field of the Dead, because there's a lot of different land names in this deck, actually. And so it's going to be a good token creator in this deck. I think it'll put in a lot of work, and it'll add to your big token go-wide strategy. Castle Lochthwain could be a good card draw engine if you need it. Witch's Cottage to put something from your graveyard back on the top of your library. Then you can mill it or draw it, depending on what you want to do. Bojuka Bog just seems good. Incidental graveyard hit is always good to add. Dackmore Salvage is a land that has dredge, so if you mill this and you need a land, you can go pull this out of your graveyard and put it into your hand. And also, it's just a good card. Like, it's just good to have land that you can count on coming from your graveyard. Similar to Drownyard Temple. That's also in this deck. Seems good. You've got Grim Backwoods as a very expensive, but just in case card draw outlet. You've got High Market, so you can sacrifice creatures. Karn's Bastion to proliferate all your counters. Colony Garden to make a token. Phyrexian Altar is another sacrifice outlet. And yeah, everything else is fixing. So that is the deck. Right now, the numbers for this deck are, I gotta actually edit it a little bit, but it's 36 creatures. We've got 6 instants, 10 sorceries, or 35 creatures. It's going to be 35 creatures because I took out a creature while doing this video to put in parallel lives. But 35 creatures, 1 Planeswalker, 6 artifacts, 7 enchantments, 10 sorceries, and 6 instants, and 34 lands. It seems like it's going to be a fun deck to play, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, if you want to be a part of the next deck tech request, just comment down below what you think I should build, and I'll do it. I'll choose my favorite out of all the ones that are suggested. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, everybody.